Today, we're about to attempt what Bugatti think is impossible.
Can't do that in a garage. There's just a few places in the world with the right equipment and only a few people in the world with the right training to be able to do.
What happens when a billion-dollar automaker claims that no one outside his walls can dismantle a hypercar, only to have an independent builder prove them dead wrong in a garage? Right now, a quiet revolution is shaking the elite automotive world. Matt Armstrong, working with standard tools and relentless determination, has defied Bugatti's authority and forced open a conversation the company never wanted to have. This isn't just about cars. It's a battle over control, freedom, and who truly owns the knowledge to repair and rebuild the machines we buy. In an ordinary garage, far removed from the polished halls of luxury manufacturing, Matt Armstrong achieved what the automotive world was told could never happen. He successfully split the monocoque structure of a Bugatti Chiron, not with proprietary factory equipment, not with a team of Bugatti-certified engineers hovering over his shoulder. He did it with standard tools, careful research, and a camera rolling to capture every single step. The process was painstaking. It was methodical, and it directly contradicted public statements from Bugatti's own CEO, who had insisted that this kind of intricate work could only be performed within the brand's specialized facilities. When the structure finally came apart in Armstrong's hands, it wasn't just a car being disassembled. It was a corporate narrative cracking wide open. What makes this moment extraordinary isn't simply the mechanical skill on display, though that alone is impressive. It's what the act represents. For decades, hypercar manufacturers have cultivated the idea that their vehicles exist beyond the reach of independent repair. They've told owners, mechanics, and the public that these machines are too complex, too delicate, too dangerous for anyone outside the factory to touch. Armstrong didn't have factory support. He didn't have privileged access to proprietary tools or restricted technical manuals. What had was an engineer's curiosity, a refusal to accept impossible at face value, and the patience to work through problems that would have stopped most people cold. And when he succeeded, it struck a nerve that resonated far beyond the world of hypercars. Millions watched. His videos documenting the process drew enormous audiences, and the reaction wasn't just admiration for his technical ability. It was something deeper, a sense of vindication. Viewers saw in Armstrong's work a confirmation of what many had long suspected, that manufacturer claims about repair exclusivity had more to do with protecting profit margins than protecting consumers. His clear, step-by-step communication made the process feel accessible rather than mythical. Here was proof, capture on camera and share with the world, that even the most sophisticated vehicles could be understood and worked on by skilled independent hands. The message landed hard. Manufacturers don't hold exclusive dominion over the mechanics of their own creations. Once a car leaves the factory floor, the knowledge to maintain it shouldn't be locked behind a corporate gate. Armstrong's project went further than debunking a single claim. It forced a deeper and more uncomfortable question into the spotlight. Why should complex machinery be so tightly guarded that qualified independent experts cannot maintain or rebuild it? This question sits at the heart of the right to repair movement, a growing global push for consumers and independent shops to access the tools, parts, and information needed to fix the products they own. Armstrong gave that movement something that had been lacking in the luxury automotive space, a vivid, undeniable, high-profile example. He took an abstract policy debate and turned it into a story people could watch unfold in real time. His results spoke louder than any press release or policy paper ever could. Beyond the wrench turns and the careful cuts, Armstrong's work embodies a fundamental pushback against a system designed to limit who gets to touch extraordinary machines. This wasn't just one car being split apart in a garage. It was a signal, quiet but unmistakable, that the balance of power between manufacturers and owners was beginning to shift. The story quickly outgrew automotive circles. Consumer rights groups took notice. Independent mechanics shared the videos as evidence for their own struggles against restrictive repair policies. Advocates for repair freedom pointed to Armstrong as living proof that the barriers weren't technical but commercial. The narrative transcended the vehicle itself and became symbolic, a modern David facing a Goliath that wielded not just legal and financial power, but the weight of an entire industry's conventional wisdom. Yet through all of it, Armstrong remained measured. He didn't attack Bugatti personally. He didn't grandstand or manufacture outrage for clicks. His approach was precise and professional, letting the work itself make the argument. That restraint earned him something invaluable: credibility. In a debate that could easily descend into mudslinging, Armstrong occupied a position of both moral and technical authority. He wasn't fighting Bugatti. He was simply showing what was possible, and that calm confidence made his case all the more difficult to dismiss. To understand why Armstrong's achievement landed with such force, you have to understand Bugatti's position before he ever picked up his tools. For years, the company's official stance had been absolute. Certain complex repairs and rebuilds were restricted exclusively to authorized service centers. The CEO had publicly declared that dismantling something as intricate as the Chiron's monocoque outside their specialized facilities was impossible and, by clear implication, unsafe. This wasn't casual corporate caution. It was a carefully constructed narrative that served multiple purposes at once. It reinforced the mystique of the brand. It justified premium service pricing, and it created a nearly impenetrable barrier between the car and anyone who wasn't on Bugatti's payroll. The company bolstered these claims with appeals to liability and safety. Bugatti's leadership argued that the extreme engineering tolerances and high-performance demands of their vehicles required specialized environments, proprietary tools, and factory-certified training that simply didn't exist beyond their walls. Independent repair wasn't just difficult, they suggested. It was reckless. The framing was deliberate. Service restrictions weren't limitations imposed on consumers, but protections offered to them. Trust the factory. Trust the ecosystem. Trust us. Behind this messaging lay a financial reality the company was never eager to discuss publicly. Bugatti's parts prices reflect both genuine scarcity and a tightly controlled supply chain designed to maximize revenue at every touchpoint. The exclusivity justified charges at owners already committed to a multi-million-dollar purchase, typically accepted as part of the lifestyle. Independent repair threatened this model at its foundation. If skilled mechanics could source components and perform complex work outside official channels, and do it for a fraction of the cost, the entire aftermarket revenue structure came under threat. The stakes were never purely about safety. They were about money, control, and the preservation of a business model built on restricted access. For years, the CEO's categorical statements went essentially unchallenged. Independent mechanics lacked the platform, the resources, or the sheer audacity to prove otherwise. Consumers resigned themselves to factory dependence. The narrative hardened into accepted truth, not because it had been rigorously tested and confirmed, but because nobody had publicly tested it at all. Bugatti had cultivated an image of unassailable expertise, and the automotive world largely accepted it without question. But industry insiders had always harbored quiet doubts. Many suspected that the impossible repair requirements were designed less to protect owners and more to eliminate competition. The overlap between genuine safety concerns and profit motives created a gray zone that Bugatti exploited skillfully, one where critics found it difficult to draw clean lines. Then Armstrong walked into his garage with his cameras, his standard tools, and his methodical patience, and the fortress walls started to crack. His documented success exposed the gap between what Bugatti claimed publicly and what was technically achievable. It forced a reckoning that the company could no longer avoid. Were Bugatti's restrictions genuine engineering necessities, or were they defensive measures designed to protect an enormously profitable service monopoly? Armstrong's accomplishment didn't just embarrass one automaker. It energized a movement. The right to repair debate has been building for years across multiple industries, from smartphones to tractors to medical equipment. Consumers and independent repair shops have long fought for access to the diagnostics, documentation, and components needed to fix products they've purchased. But in the luxury automotive sector, where price tags reach into the millions and production runs number in the hundreds, the fight had always felt abstract, almost theoretical. Armstrong changed that overnight. He dragged the debate into the most exclusive tier of the automotive world and proved it belonged there just as urgently as anywhere else. The broader pattern he exposed is familiar. Manufacturers restrict repair through software locks, limited parts distribution, proprietary diagnostic systems, and contractual barriers that funnel all service work back to authorized dealers. These practices inflate costs, crush competition, and leave consumers without meaningful choices. Armstrong's visible, documented success in overcoming these barriers on one of the world's most complex vehicles delivered a powerful counterargument. If a Bugatti Chiron can be disassembled in a private garage with standard tools, then the restrictions imposed on far simpler vehicles look increasingly impossible to defend. The implications extend well beyond economics. Enabling independent repair lengthens product lifespans, reduces waste, and distributes knowledge more broadly. In the hypercar world, where vehicles are engineering monuments as much as they are transportation, independent repair capability means these machines can be preserved and maintained by a wider community of skilled professionals rather than a handful of factory technicians. The right to repair becomes not just a matter of consumer choice, but one of sustainability and technological stewardship. Manufacturers across the industry are watching nervously. Some have already begun loosening repair restrictions, sensing that resistance in an era of social media transparency can backfire spectacularly. Armstrong's project demonstrated that a single individual with a platform and a compelling story can shift public opinion more effectively than a corporate marketing department with a multi-million-dollar budget. The automotive aftermarket is entering unfamiliar territory, a landscape where consumer voices carry genuine weight and where traditional manufacturer dominance is no longer guaranteed. Then came Rimac's move. Shortly after Armstrong's feat went viral, Bugatti's parent company released what appeared to be a routine factory tour invitation. The video enthusiastically encouraged automotive enthusiasts to visit the Rimac campus, where the Nevera electric hypercar and Bugatti Tourbillon prototypes are built side by side. On the surface, it looked like straightforward promotion, a chance for fans to witness cutting-edge manufacturing up close. But the timing told a very different story. The video dropped just days after Armstrong had publicly demolished Bugatti's claims, and the automotive community noticed immediately. The invitation represented a subtle but significant shift in posture. For years, Bugatti had operated as a closed fortress, guarding its processes and expertise behind impenetrable walls. Now, through Rimac, the company was projecting openness, inviting outsiders to step inside and see how things were built. There was no mention of Armstrong's name, no acknowledgement of the controversy, but the message was there for anyone paying attention. The company that had insisted no outsider could understand its vehicles was suddenly welcoming outsiders through the front door. Observers noted that the video didn't coincide with any scheduled product launch or marketing campaign. Its appearance felt reactive rather than planned. Rather than publicly conceding that Armstrong had proven them wrong, Rimac seemed to be extending a carefully worded diplomatic gesture, one designed to shift the narrative without ever admitting fault. It was image management executed with corporate precision, an effort to reframe the company as welcoming rather than offensive while sidestepping the specific claims Armstrong had demolished with his bare hands. The automotive community saw through it almost instantly. Comment sections erupted with references to Armstrong's rebuild. Viewers interpreted the factory tour as a veiled peace offering, a corporate attempt to regain trust while avoiding any direct engagement with the real controversy. Many noted the irony. A slickly produced promotional video showcasing advanced engineering was being completely overshadowed by footage of a man working alone in a garage. The more polished Rimac's content looked, the more authentic Armstrong's footage felt by comparison. The company's attempt to reclaim the narrative only highlighted how completely Armstrong had already seized it. The response from enthusiast mechanics and the broader public has been swift, vocal, and overwhelmingly in Armstrong's corner. Across platforms, forums, and comment sections, the sentiment has hardened into something clear and unwavering. Armstrong represents skill and passion prevailing over corporate gatekeeping. His quiet persistence and undeniable results stand in sharp contrast to carefully managed corporate messaging, and audiences know the difference instantly. The story has become genuinely empowering, not because Armstrong set out to start a revolution, but because his work revealed truths that people were already hungry to hear. The community's support runs deeper than admiration for mechanical talent. It's fueled by a shared frustration that has been building for years. Conversations consistently return to the inflated costs of manufacturer parts, the restrictive policies that lock out qualified independents, and the fundamental unfairness of a system that sells you a product but denies you the freedom to maintain it. Armstrong's rebuild gave those frustrations a face and a focal point. He proved the barriers were real but not insurmountable, and that distinction changed everything. Social media has amplified the David versus Goliath dynamic in ways that would have been impossible even a decade ago. Armstrong's ongoing documentation allows millions of followers to witness every step of the rebuild in real time, creating a narrative with genuine stakes and suspense that no corporate content strategy can replicate. His transparency is his greatest weapon. Where Bugatti communicates through carefully vetted statements and polished cinematography, Armstrong shows his hands, his tools, his mistakes, and his breakthroughs. That raw authenticity resonates deeply with audiences who have grown exhausted by being managed and marketed to. His composed, professional tone only strengthens his position. By refusing personal attacks and sensationalist rhetoric, Armstrong has made it nearly impossible for critics to dismiss him as a provocateur chasing views. He invites constructive conversation rather than confrontation, drawing supporters who value competence and integrity in equal measure. This approach has broadened his reach far beyond traditional car enthusiasts, connecting with anyone who has ever felt that a corporation was withholding something they had every right to access. Bugatti now stands at a genuine crossroads. The company's next decisions will shape not only its own reputation, but potentially the broader future of automotive repair and the trust between manufacturers and the people who buy their cars. The indirect overture through Rimac's factory tour suggests an awareness that the old playbook is no longer sustainable. But awareness alone won't satisfy an audience that has tasted real accountability. Bugatti must decide whether to genuinely open its ecosystem, making parts, documentation, and technical support accessible to independent professionals, or to continue retreating through a series of managed gestures and diplomatic half-measures that satisfy no one. From Armstrong's side, there is little reason to accept overtures that might compromise the independence defining his entire project. His narrative rests on proving that complex work can be accomplished outside official channels, and formal collaboration with Bugatti would blur that message beyond recognition. Public perception values his self-reliance above all else. Accepting a factory invitation could easily be read as seeking approval from the very institution he challenged, undermining the story that has rallied millions behind him. His power lies in his independence, and he understands that instinctively. The broader automotive industry is paying close attention because this standoff captures a global tension every manufacturer will eventually confront. If Bugatti adapts successfully, finding a genuine balance between brand protection and repair openness, it could establish a model for luxury brands everywhere. If it continues to resist, it risks inviting regulatory intervention, fueling aftermarket competition, and accelerating the very loss of control it fears most. Governments worldwide are already advancing legislation that would require manufacturers to provide repair information and replacement parts to independent shops. Armstrong's high-profile case hands lawmakers exactly the kind of visible, emotionally compelling evidence they need to push those efforts across the finish line. But the real force driving this conversation isn't any single builder or any single corporation. It's the millions of people watching, commenting, sharing, and demanding something better. Armstrong's ongoing build continues to draw massive audiences, and every new video adds pressure that Bugatti cannot ignore. The story has evolved well beyond mechanical challenge into something far larger, a living demonstration that informed, engaged communities can compel even the most powerful companies to reconsider how they operate. Brands that dismiss this reality risk more than unflattering headlines. They risk irrelevance in a market that increasingly rewards transparency, fairness, and genuine respect for the people who purchase their products. Matt Armstrong's bold rebuild has opened a door that few believed could ever be moved. He challenged Bugatti's grip on repair, reshaped the global conversation about ownership and access, and proved that determination and skill can overcome even the most carefully constructed corporate barriers. Bugatti's cautious response tells us the company knows something fundamental has changed, but the future remains unwritten. The tools are in the hands of builders, consumers, and communities now,